I had posted on Facebook, Junk Journal, we are transitioning to JunkJournal.AI. And I posted on Facebook, some of the graphics that I had created with JunkJournal.AI. And I thought it would be great to actually show you then how you would use these. So there are a variety of junk journal and things. These are, a variety of folders, things that you can fold up. This is one where we'll cut the slits and you can tuck things down in. I just printed these on heavyweight paper. You could absolutely print them on cardstock, which on some of these I might go back and print on cardstock just so they're a little bit thicker so that when things are being slid in and out of them, it's a little bit easier. I also have a variety of other things that I just had in my drawer. I'll have some little lace pieces, some little frames, things like that I'll pull in. These were all, again, printed out with JunkJournal.AI. My prompt was I wanted a Klimt-Inspired graphics of some of these women. I actually used these ladies in a calendar that I did for 2025. So that the full-size images are my calendar pictures that I used to create, and just a beautiful variety of Klimt-inspired graphics, right? And so I'm going to use some of these graphics in my design, right? And so there's the large pieces. I tend to have large pieces. I think I'm going to work with this lady today, and I'm actually going to cut her out so she'll fit on the page. But then I have a variety of other things like little hearts and tabs, and I made some of these little tabs. These could be belly bands, or little tucks that you could tuck in places. Here's some where I used some of the background graphics from the large pages and made them into things that could eventually be folded to be a pocket, right? So this would be a pocket that you fold, and that it has the fold lines on it. Here's another one. These just have, just general kind of overall graphics, along with, a variety of the same big images, but in little pieces. I also made some little postage stamps, which I think are super cute out of some of the pictures. And then a variety of these kind of belly bands that have, just general graphics. So here's that same flowers. I also made some corner tucks out of these. So there's just corner with a half round, and a variety of things. So, and we have some smaller pages that just have general graphics and things like that. So I'll set all of this aside for just a second, because we want to start with our actual journal and prepping our journal page. Okay. So it is kind of daunting, I think, to start a brand new journal, and especially one that you spent hours putting together into a custom journal. So just to show you real quick, my custom journal has a fabric outer. It's just made out of scrap pieces of fabric that I had, as well as some sari trim, a big giant button. The inside, of course, is the messy towels that I had. And then I have watercolor paper as well as a variety of other papers in here tucked in to be able to journal on top of. So it'll be really exciting to see how this whole journal unfolds over time, because I'm going to use this one as my demo journal. It has 4 big signatures in here. The first signature, I think I'm going to do the Klimt-inspired stuff in it, and then we'll see how this unfolds as time goes on. So the very first page is always, any white page is always kind of daunting. Okay, I'm going to fold this back so I don't get paint all over it, because it's, all right, front page is always a little daunting. But I have a manifestation that I want to add to here. So that's where I'm going to start with my lady. So specifically, I wanted this lady. I'm going to cut her out, and I'm going to have a manifestation for the start of this project. So let me grab my scissors, and I'm going to cut her out real quick. So she's essentially going to sit here. So I sure to save these kinds of things for later, because I'm going to need this maybe at some additional time. I don't need it for here. So here's my lady. She's going to go on here. I think I don't love the hard edge here. What do I want to do with that? Yeah, I'll leave it. It'll blend, and we'll just leave a border essentially. Okay, so the white is very daunting, like I mentioned, and so that can be a little overwhelming to see all of that sea of white on here. And sometimes you just need to break the sea of white. And I'm going to do that. I'm just going to squeeze some gold on here and see what happens. Let's grab a foam brush. I'm going to just kind of add some things in. We don't need to be real precious about it. If paint gets on the other page, it's not a big deal. Page gets, a little bit of gold gets on the inside cover. Again, not a big deal because it has paint all over it anyway. Again, it was a messy page, or it was a messy towel, cleanup rag. All right, so, and then I think I want to add in maybe some of this red, because she doesn't have a lot of red in her. Well, it's in her, and she's got some blue in there, so I think I'm going to add in a little bit of this red. A little bit probably goes a long way where this is concerned. Just going to put a little bit on here, just to give myself some background. Grab some blue on here too. Get interesting. Most of this is going to be covered up, right? So it's very interesting. I'm going to throw this down underneath here for just a second, so that way I can really get that edge good. That's going to show up behind her. I'm just squeezing this stuff right onto the foam brush. Again, not trying to be super precious about this. I do want that color going all the way to the edge. I don't really want that white showing through necessarily. And again, this is where that messy towel is helpful. Because it just collects those overpaint. It makes it beautiful. I'm not going to see any of that. Okay. That's fun. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do, this is all nice and wet. I'll leave it. I'm going to grab some of my matte medium and just stick her down. I don't want medium in the background, is going to be fine on here. But I want to make sure that before, when I go over the top of her with matte medium to seal her down, I want to make sure that I do it with a clean brush. Otherwise, all that paint is going to end up on top of her. Okay. She's straight. Yeah, I think so. I'm just going to stick it down to there. Anything else over here? I don't necessarily love all that red as much as I thought I was going to. So I'm going to go in with the blue and tone that down a little bit. Okay, I'm going to let this dry for just a little bit. She's getting a little... Take that out of there. Okay. I'll throw that in there, let that dry a little bit. Sometimes I will also grab, I have a variety of, they are brass weights, paper weights, and I will throw those down on on top of anything that I am. I also have these. throw these down on top of whatever I've just glued down, essentially, just to keep it from moving around and or puckering up. What else do we want? I want to leave this area open because I am going to put my manifestation quote in here, but maybe could do something else in here. And feel free to use your fingers even. I like how the gold and the blue kind of work together to make a greeny color. I think that's a lot of fun too. Sometimes you get these unexpected surprises. What do I want to put up here in that top corner? The other option is to put in something like a belly band so you could tuck a card or message into yourself. This one feels a little bit long, so maybe I shorten it a little bit because then I could tuck something in there. I think I'm going to do that. Okay. Because again, I want to leave this area here open. I'm going to also go in with a little extra visual interest on the corner of her. Maybe. Think through the layout here. I'll take these off. Good enough. Okay, I could put in a pocket up here, and then I would have room to tuck something in. Scissors go. Again, that uses those same beautiful colors because I could add, since this is the first part of my signature, sometimes on a front cover, I will include like a library card that explains like when I started, why I did this particular journal, things like that. So on this, I'm just going to fold my little corners in, right? So it gives me essentially a pocket, and I would glue down just the edges onto the page, leaving the center open. So this becomes this little pocket that would sit here that I could tuck a little message or something about this particular journal in here. And then again, maybe we move this down here and we put the mantra up there. I'm seeing the mantra here. So I think I'm going to tuck this up here. Too wide. You can always make it less wide. It doesn't have to be this wide. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with it. Just going to go with it. Right to my view stick. I'm going to do my inside first. Fold these bad boys down. Okay, I'm gonna drop it down. And again, this is where I mentioned I'm gonna do that with enough space to put. I don't want to run over her face. This is where I mentioned having these weights is helpful because you want to be able to hold things down, but I don't want to sit here and hold it. The metal weights. So a lot of time I have a great big one that I would usually use, but intents and purposes of that, we'll just let that hold for a minute. Okay, and so then I want to plan out to write in my mantra here. This is still a little damp and sticky. So when you're laying out stuff onto the page, usually if you put your focal point in one of the 4 spots, like let's say you had like a square in the middle of your design, and your focal point is in one of the 4 spots. So her face is in, one of those key focal points areas, and then my my quote will be down here in an opposite focal point area. Just a little layout or design idea. I need to figure out how we're gonna mask that off. Okay. So I think that is at least stuck down. Maybe not completely stuck down in the corner there. But yeah, we've got the pocket. Has a little space there because we have the little sides, the little gusset holding that down. I'm gonna let that sit for another minute. So now we could take essentially something like this and slide it inside, right? Could have my little lady sticking out there. There's a tab on the top. I like to usually make these things out of something that is a little stiffer paper if I'm going to do something that's tucking inside of something else, but I went ahead and printed these out on 28 pounds. So it's not normal copy paper. It's a little heavier than normal copy paper, but yeah, super exciting stuff. All right, so the mantra that I am adding, is this dry enough? Yes, I have a variety of markers that I keep on my table, and I want the navy blue one because again, that's Posca markers. There's my navy blue one. So I'm going to go with the navy blue because that's the dark color that I am using here. And I'm just going to go in, again, here's where the fun part goes. I got to just prime my markers right on this messy rag too. I'm going to go in here real quick. I think I want to just figure out how she's laying in. A lot of times I'll do this with chalk, but I don't see chalk most of the time. And the reason I do chalk is you can wipe chalk off easy. But I don't have chalk. It's not on my easy suit today. So I'm gonna go with it. And this is really just as a way to, do I want it straight or do I want it curved? I feel like it should be curved. I'd be really mad at myself if this doesn't work. Do it straight. I'm just gonna go with it. It says the empire I am building is aligned, expansive, and unstoppable. All right. I also like to take these Posca markers occasionally and I'll just do things like, I apologize if you heard the dog squeaky toy. I will just do some like dots and other things and maybe even come in here on the graphic itself just to tie Daisy. Daisy, can you go find a different toy that doesn't make a lot of noise while mommy is trying to record, please? I'll just pull in some of this color into her outfit from the colors that I'm using. And so it all looks like it, coordinates or whatever. Go in. I like things in odd numbers. Maybe we'll even darken that one up a little bit. All right, and then, so now I need to bring in the other colors that I mentioned. So maybe we bring in the red. Let's go marker that matches. You'll have the red. And some more. Maybe even go off the page a little bit. Maybe we might go back in. Just a visual interest. I want to pull my images that I'm sticking on the page and connect them with the background, not just float them on top. So sometimes in order to do that, you have to make some conscious decisions on what you're doing. This is her hair, and you notice how her hair kind of cuts off. So I might even go in with a brown marker, because essentially I want to connect her as an image to the background, right? And so maybe I'll come in here and finish out her hair. So it looks like, she's part of the page. Color that in. That'll probably go. Right, what else does she need? I want to do some spray. I'm going to spray over the top because I love a little grungy spray, but I don't want to get any spray on top of her face. And so I'm going to mask off her face. And I'm going to do that by just cutting a piece of paper really quick. Essentially will ensure that I can cover over her little face and she doesn't get any spray on top of her little head there. Okay. So I'm just masking off, and then I'm going to take my gold spray. And again, because this was messy rag, I don't need to worry about like covering it up and being extra precious about any of this. It'll be interesting to see how everything reacts together. Let me pre-prime on my rag. I like a little bit of gold shimmer on my designs. Okay, so that made sure that her little face didn't get. And actually, I like how that turned out in her hair. So I'm gonna try. Oh, there we go. I might even take my little finger. Definitely doesn't necessarily, that ink doesn't necessarily love the print of this particular print was made on with a laser color, so that might affect its ability to let that dry. All right, and there's our first design. That was super simple, and I will write myself a note, a card that I will put in there, slide in there, that looks like a little library card that I can put in that will kind of outline, what year it was that I did it, things like that, just so I remember later. So we'll let that dry. I love how the gold is starting to dry and sparkle. I don't know, it may not be easy to pick up on the camera, but that is super fun. She's got some on her chest and across, and then it got did fun things inside of the different colors, the paint that was still wet. So that's fun. Okay, so page 1 is done. So that's super exciting. The empire building is aligned and expansive and unstoppable. For my first mantra, I save all of my little pieces of leftover paper and junk. As I mentioned, I like these little trays where I just kind of throw everything back in the tray for the stuff that I'm working on. Especially if I'm working on, some theme. I have these trays, and I have some that are bigger and clear that I will just throw everything in until I'm completely done. And then anything that's left over scrap-wise will end up going back into my junk basket or separated out into folders based on what it was. So, yep, exciting stuff. That was the first page. I look forward to seeing what you guys do with the AI graphics that I've posted. I will add a link to all of the full-size images that you can download of the Klimt-Inspired graphics so that you could journal along with me.